guys, Techmaestro here, back with another video for you guys. So this isn't exactly a tech video. I mean, I'm not specifying the specs of any particular phone. I'm not talking about how good it is. I'm not talking about the cons of it. Instead, I'm here to bring one of the biggest debates in tech history to an end. And that is Apple versus Android. So the conclusion will be I'm an Android fanboy, but we'll get to know why. So yeah, iOS versus Android. So why do I prefer Android? I'll just tell you that. So iOS, when you consider the functionality of it, it's pretty limited. I mean, you can't really do much in iOS. It's even hard to download stuff in iOS. Like, you need to download a separate app to download stuff inside it. So that's going to be a bit of a difficulty. And whereas in Android, it's pretty simple. You just go to a website and just press the download button and it starts downloading in your files. And from there, you can share it from whichever folder or application it gets saved in. Whereas in iOS, you're locked to one particular file. And also, the thing is that if you're going to download music, which is easier on Android, it's going to get saved in your music files. In iOS, you have to either download this app called iDownloader to download it there, and then it's a bit of a hectic process. Or instead, just go to Apple Music and buy music, which is a bit of a shame because paid music is sort of not really a thing anymore, especially in India, because most of us just download it from like different websites, but not from Apple Music paying. So yeah, that's one thing. And also, Android is open for developers as well. So that is probably one of the best features of Android, because iOS, it's not an open software. Not everyone can take it. It's only Apple that customizes it. It's only Apple that tweaks it. But whereas in Android, you might have different versions of Android: KitKat, Lollipop, Marshmallow, Nougat. But the thing is, if you give it to a particular developer so he can use it to make his new phone, he can make the Android software a little more special, so it's exclusive to his product. Like Samsung changes Android to TouchWiz, so it's basically like a skin. And then LG also has its skin, and Huawei also has its skin. So these are exclusive to their product, right? Whereas Google is just completely clean Android with no skin on it, with no bloatware. But yeah, people, or more like developers and companies, can change the software to make it look like what they want to, instead of just making it look like plain Android. But obviously, if you want stock Android, you can go for the Google phones like the Pixel. But if you want a bit of a different experience, you can definitely go for Samsung, Huawei, and you got many more companies like LG. The V20 is amazing. So yeah, there are phones like that, and pretty much everyone has to customize it just a little bit. So I'd say there are two categories in terms of tweaking the software. One is the category which heavily skins the software. It has a lot of bloat in it, and the other is very minimalistic tweaks, not really that intuitive. They're good. They don't really make a difference in the user experience. They're pretty much like the Google Pixel. So in terms of the category with heavy skins, a lot of companies fall under it. Samsung, LG, Huawei, they add some skins that look ugly on the phone, and then they also add a lot of bloatware into the phone. Like, for example, you have a Google Messenger app, say Hangouts, but then you have a counterpart to it like Samsung Messenger app, and that's how every Google application has a counterpart from Samsung, and that just adds up to bloat. Same with LG and Huawei. Whereas, say, in phones like Motorola or OnePlus, they just add applications that may be useful here and there, but those are just applications. They don't really change the look of the whole software. They don't really change the user experience. So yeah, it pretty much remains the same. And those are like, say, budget Nexus phones. So if you want the clean Google experience at a low price, you can get a Motorola phone, not the Moto Z. I'm specifically talking about the Moto G4 Play or regular or Plus. Or you can also get the OnePlus 3 or the Moto Z Play as well. All of these have like clean-ish Android. They're not really, completely clean, but it's just like a couple of apps here and there. So that doesn't really make a difference. Whereas in iOS, you cannot do that at all. and yeah, you're pretty much locked into very minimalistic settings, which I feel falls a bit behind when compared to Android, because the expandability on Android is just so much more better when compared to iOS. The place where iOS kind of wins, I would say, is in performance, because if we see in speed tests or in say regular performance tests, iOS loads up apps a bit quicker. Okay, that's a bit of an advantage. RAM management is also sometimes better, but I wouldn't say it's such a big difference that you would shelve out like a lot of money, like $1,000 just for a phone, when you can actually get like a $700 Android phone, which is still top class. Yeah, it's not that much of a big difference. Android still catches up pretty well. It's just by the fact that Android is a little more dense in terms of applications and the software itself when compared to iOS. iOS is like really light, so even weak specs can handle it like really well. But you don't really have cheap phones with weak specs with iOS loaded up. Maybe iPhone SE, but still $400 is still a bit expensive. And you have Android phones which are like $250, $150 as well, like the Blue R1 HD. And then iOS phones may be powerful, but Android is also catching up. They're pretty much the same, just a bit of a difference. And I'd say just go for the Android phone for the expandability features and everything. So yeah, those are the main differences between iOS and Android. And when it comes to like say specs, obviously iOS has different specs because they're proprietary processors which won't work with other phones. Whereas like Snapdragons will work with any Android phone. You got your A20, you got your say 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can fit this into any phone depending on the price range, so you can do that. Whereas Apple A10 is pretty much proprietary, right? So you can't put it in any Android phone, say for example. That's not possible. So yeah, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. And when it comes to like say camera performance or the build quality and everything, I'd say Android wins, because Android has a range of phones, and if you pick the best, if you pick the one specifically with the best camera, which I'd say the S7 will be, and if you put the say iPhone 7 side by side, the iPhone 7 Plus to be more specific, the iPhone 7 Plus definitely has an advantage with the dual camera lens and the telephoto lens thing. But when it comes down to the quality and how the photo looks, I guess the cameras like S7 and the Google Pixel surely win here, because it's more sharper, it has more detail. It overexposes sometimes, which is common with the iPhone 7 as well, because these are like really small sensors. But it doesn't really make a big difference to the photos, and I feel that the S7s and the Google Pixel's photos look more eye-pleasing when compared to the iPhone 7s. The iPhone 7 still holds up really well. It's just a little difference, but in the end, Android does win there. And then you've also got dual camera phones as well, like the Huawei P9, Honor 8, and you've also got the LG V20, and you've also got the LG G5. So all these phones have dual lenses, and I think LG's implementation was really good with the wide angle lens camera. It looks like really cool. Whereas the telephoto is a bit more smarter. That's just for like, the LG V20's implementation is just for like fun. So yeah, I think iPhone 7 just wins with the dual lens part, but I'm pretty sure in terms of like raw quality, Android will definitely win. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So to conclude this, I'd say Android is definitely better. Just a little weaker in performance, but not a huge difference. So you have to go for Android for that. And then you can also have more expandability and better way to do things when compared to iOS, because you're locked up to limited settings in iOS, whereas you have a range of different ways to do something in Android. And also when it comes to say camera specs, definitely the iPhone 7 will win in terms of the telephoto lens thing, but the camera quality is much better in some phones in Android, like the S7 and the Google Pixel. Not exactly much better, but it's a little difference, but it still counts, right? So Android's better there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You have different price ranges in Android because not everyone can afford iOS. Some people can exactly afford $1,000 for a phone, and so you can go for the Android phone, the cheaper ones like $250 Moto G4 or the $300 Moto G4 Plus. So you can do that, or you can go for the OnePlus 3, which is $400. I mean, you can definitely go for the iPhone SE, but who be working with the 4-inch screen in 2016? So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're going for a phone, go for Android. My recommendation. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you guys next time. Bye bye.